the American companies. Oh,
What are you saying?
nothing. La, 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 la.
So what is this going to be about? What is it going to be about?
Everything's so high tech.
We got the camera. We don't use it though. It'd be a lot better than this.
No, I saw like a new refrigerator,
Oh,
like touchscreen, Samsung. Like you could talk to it, like Bixby.
Mm.
Meal plan.
I can't go all the way over. Sorry.
And right.
So what's that guy's name?
What video?
Well, I was looking for the Jonathan Price video and I paused it. So none of that got on camera. That's okay.
Cook with me.
It's just sad though, probably. Like I was saying, it's just sad that a human being's life doesn't have value in that regard, and they become political talking points for people to debate and argue when a life is lost. In this case, the Jonathan Price case, it's a person that was a part of the Republican Party, it seems, or at least he expressed sort of ideas and thoughts that align with that sort of political party. Um, so it didn't really matter in the end. In the end, because that police officer perceived him as a threat, when in fact, he wasn't a threat. But a lot of this, I mean, if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, a lot of this isn't even really about race. It's really about man's sort of problems with perception and reality, how we perceive reality in a very fragmentary way, a very divided way, and we don't really see things as they are. We move based on sort of biases and projections that we have about things. We don't really see what's really happening. And in that case, the guy didn't see what was really happening. He just saw a big person, because the guy, Jonathan, looks like he was kind of huge. He saw a big person, a big black person. And of course he's going to have biases, because a lot of, unfortunately, due to certain circumstances where they grew up, family situations, and some systemic issues, a lot of black people, well, black men, young black men, they commit crimes. Some of it is disproportionate, and some of it is like nothing even serious, but it's still a fact, that happens. And so police officers will have that bias when they see a person engaged in some activity that they perceive to be sort of criminal or negative or threatening. They will instantly go there. Some police officers, because not all police officers we represented by that police officer that shot that guy. Many police officers would not have done that. They would have been more reasonable, and not just act like they're Rambo or some type of some type of superhero, or not even a superhero, some type of like cop drama in a movie where they just come out guns blazing. Like, that's not how you do things. It's not how you enforce the law. This is reality. This is life. Human life is delicate and it means something. It has value. And people's lives, they're delicate. And it needs to be understood. It needs to be valued. There needs to, compassion needs to exist. That we're one. They look at themselves and they see themselves in others. They see others by themselves, and their reflection that they have upon others. That when they perceive others, they look at them. It's not apart from their own possibilities, their own functions, their own life. You know, and not everything is life and death. Sometimes people make choices and decisions um, to help others. And it may look a certain way, but you have to put yourselves in those shoes. And what would you do in that situation if you saw a person being abused by somebody? Would you help? Most people wouldn't, but some people would. And he was one of those people that would. And I'm pretty sure that police officer, even that he became a police officer, he would be one of those people who would do something, given his line of work. If he wasn't a police officer, given his personality, he probably would have done something. But no one would have shot him because he doesn't look threatening in that way. You already know about my situation when the police officers were stopping me all the time when I was walking to work, and then they pull all those guns on me for no reason. And I was just walking down the street. And if I had made one mistake, and my only mistake would have been not being aware of how to deal with a situation like that, not being educated, not being aware of how to deal with the police in a circumstance like that. And if I had made a mistake and just put, when the police asked me to show me my ID, and I immediately quickly moved to my ID and didn't announce it to them with my hands up saying I'm going to reach for my ID. If I didn't say that, then they probably would have shot me. He's reaching for a gun, and that's that quick. And it's not because they want to kill me because I'm black. It's just because they are not trained properly. They are fearful. They're afraid. Not all police officers are that way, but many are. They live in it's tough. It's tough being a police officer in an environment where you don't know what's going to happen. A person could pull a gun out any time and shoot you. They're afraid they're afraid and fearful for their life too, and they're on edge. And there's nothing more dangerous than a person that's on edge. And the person who is on edge is the law enforcement. It's the person that's supposed to be the representation of the law in social settings. That means that they should be the sort of the highest pinnacle of the law. They should be so representative of the law that they embody it entirely. But that's not the reality. I mean, that would be like saying that they are sort of like highly developed beings in a way that would be almost sin-like, or having that sort of calm. And that's just not something that people possess on a regularly. I mean, you have to develop to that point. It's self-development. But to me, police officers should be some of the people that should be the highest developed individuals, because you are the enforcers of law. You maintain the peace. So you should be so developed when dealing with others, and you can't have that sort of perceptive problem where you perceive people and you see them in a different way because you're projecting upon them, projecting biases upon them. or generalizations, identifications, not seeing the human in that situation. But then at the same time, that can become a liability because in a situation where a person does not, a person is a criminal and they don't necessarily, and they are not looking at you as a police officer or looking at people um, from a perspective that is more not innocent but law abiding, and they are literally looking to get away at all costs, then that could put you in danger if you are being too compassionate. But then again, that's compassion in an idealized sort of kind of compassion. It's not compassion from the perspective of, like, if you find an animal that's wounded and you and and then the animal isn't going to survive and it's going to suffer and die, you would probably be moved to put the animal out of its misery. Um, you know, but it's hard to hard to think about that when it comes to human life because there's ethics and there's morality. A human life matters, even if it's a human life that went down the wrong path. People have value. Um, their lives mean something. So it's a tough. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's a tough situation. She doesn't want to be on the camera. She's being silly. It's okay. It's tough. But at the same time, like I've said in the past, I, well, as I said to her, my wife, not to you guys, but my place in this whole thing, and this is just like, I cannot side with sides. Like, I can't be like, okay, I'm all in on this Black Lives Matter um, movement. The words itself, the statement itself, Black Lives Matter, I'm with that. But I'm not with movements. I'm not with group mindsets. Because no movement and no group is whole. They lack. Because they're biased. They have ideas about things that I don't agree with. And over time, a movement will become will turn upon its first principles. It will become something else over time, uh, and it won't be the same thing as it was when it started. Its sentiments, its intentions will be changed. And I feel like some of that has happened to the Black Lives Matter movement, which I believe was first formed to get justice for the Trayvon Martin situation, just to get the person charged for killing a teenager that was unarmed. Even if it was a battle or fight, doesn't matter. Life was lost over something so silly and petty and dumb. Um, so I agree with the fact that life is valuable and sacred, and it does matter, um, regardless of the phenotype of the individual. A life matters, you know. And since I am a person who is inclined towards spiritual realities, um, the phenotype is not representative of what a person is at the core of their being. I mean, we're more than just that. But that's all people see here, and that's sad. Um, But so I'm for human life, and I'm for truth, or the seeking of that truth. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. Um, so sometimes I do say things that would, well, in people's eyes, would be problematic from both sides, because I'm not looking at it from the perspective of joining myself to a group and being defined by their limitations. I'm solitary in how I look at things. I am in the world and not of it. When I see one side is wrong, I'm going to point it out. When I see another side is wrong, I'm going to point it out. Period. And if I'm in a group of people and that I am with and I've been with for a long time, I'm not going to hesitate to basically point out something I don't agree with, or I will, or I won't interact. Because if I don't agree with, if something is BS, I'm not going to sit there and turn a blind eye to it and be complicit towards it. It's just not going to be a reality for me. So, I mean, but it's sad that that's what happens, and it's going to happen again. But this case is different because the person is one of the guys. He's one of the he's one of the people. He's one of the the ones who agree with the right, and I don't really see anyone talking about that. That's why I looked at I was watching the Fox News broadcast of that case with Jonathan Price, and I was looking for anything from conservative media to see if they were actually talking about this. Because one of the things that I see that's a contradiction is that oftentimes when when it's a black person killed, or some type of situation with a black person that involves a person that can be um, that can be painted as a criminal, that has a criminal record, or where that can be used as a means to justify a death or justify a wrong being done. The person brings up somebody's past as if their past makes them not human anymore, where you can do whatever you want with them, as if this is like as if this is communist China. We can just make people disappear if we don't like them, or they have a, a history that is negative or whatever. Oftentimes, that's used to promote a certain type of narrative that will, I guess, confirm or give credence or give or support an agenda. But when in those situations when that person in that sort of event is not does not fit the sort of that doesn't fit the credentials to be used for a narrative that will support, I guess, a right wing agenda, then they don't talk about it. And that to me is nonsense, because to some degree, like, you have to look at people's past and where they were and where they are. You know, you have to look at people's past and see how their choices brought them to where they are, and that's valid to look at that to some degree. But then at the same time, when there's a situation where the person doesn't fit those characteristics, and you don't talk about it, like it doesn't exist because it goes against your narrative and your agenda, then to me that's hypocrisy at its finest, and it's nothing moral, it's nothing elevated about that, and that's wrong. And this Jonathan Price person, although all the details of what happened is not out yet, just from what is being heard and just from his character, it looks like this is one of those situations where where it doesn't fit the agenda and the narrative in the same way that I think his name was Philando Castillo didn't fit the narrative when he was killed. And it's sad. And in that situation that I talked about when all those police officers pulled their guns on me, a person who has never committed any crimes, law-abiding citizen, um, spiritual vegetarian, um, is more conservative than I am liberal in regards to how I conduct my life and some of my thinking. And if that happened to me and if I was shot, what would they do with that? Would they try to find something for me to say, okay, maybe try to find if I did something wrong in my life? All because a person has done something wrong and made mistakes, that does not make them, uh, that does not make it okay to kill them or make it okay for their life to not have purpose or meaning or value. That's just not how it works. In America, I mean, the American dream is about second chances. Some of it is about second chances, that you can come here and you can make it. And if you falter, you pay your debt to society, that you can become something still. And in some countries you can. You commit a crime or whatever, your status goes down or you disappear or something. Like that's not how America works. America is a place for second chances. You have a chance to become something. Like, and I have cousins who have committed crimes and went to prison, you know, drug crimes, and then they come out, they turn their life around, and they don't do that anymore. You know, but if somehow, God forbid, something were to happen to them in some event with a police officer or something, and people say, oh, they'll bring up the fact that they went to jail when they were teenagers. You know, they went to jail when they were in their late teens, and they didn't get out until 5 years later. It's, oh, they were a criminal, so that means that they don't deserve compassion. They don't deserve to be looked at in a manner that is that is human. This is sad. All right, that's that's my take. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
I feel you.
No, seriously, you gotta have an opinion. You gotta think about something. What do you think? What's your thoughts?
Same with you.
All right,
Same
whatever.
page with you.
All right, okay. You're being silly. All right. All right, that's it. That's it. Nothing more.